All right, let's talk about the default template, or actually the default templates is more precise. The way to think about this, I think the best way to think about this is there are built-in, and in fact sometimes these default templates are also called the built-in templates of XSL, that allow the processor to do the right thing basically when you don't give it any specific instructions. So suppose, for example, you have an XML file and in your transform, you really don't give it any instructions. You don't tell it what to do. You don't tell it how to capture anything of that XML file. What's it supposed to do? You haven't really given it any explicit instructions. Like there's not even a default template, there's not even a template that says match equals /, right? Just an empty style sheet. And you run that style sheet against an XML file. What would you want the template processor to do? And I think there's the answer of what it does do, and then there's the answer that I would propose for what I actually would want it to do. So what it does is it traverses the whole tree, right? It goes down from the root node into all of its children, all of its first child's grandchildren, right? It does this, what we've called branch-wise traverse of the whole tree. That's clearly something that you want it to do, right? You want it to, even if you don't say so, you want it to continue down each branch of the tree and at least hit every node in the tree. As it continues down that tree, and here's where I sort of diverge with the way that the default or built-in templates actually work, I'd kind of like it, as I traverse down that tree, I'd kind of like it to hit all the attributes as well as hitting all the elements. But it doesn't hit all the elements, and in fact, XSL apply templates doesn't hit all the attributes. The default template doesn't hit all the attributes, and XSL apply, because XSL apply templates doesn't hit attributes. So what it does do is it hits all the elements and all the child elements and all the grandchild elements in this branch-wise traverse manner. And it sort of skips by the attributes, which I think is kind of weird. Again, showing how those attributes are just like impoverished children. They don't really get the same attention that the child elements get, but that's how it is. So the first thing you want it to do is traverse the entire tree, not missing any of the major children. By the way, major children also include text nodes. And then what you also want it to do as a kind of an adjunct is not only go through all of those, but if there isn't some explicit instructions to what to do with a particular element, then do something that's reasonable. Do something that's sort of natural. And the natural thing to do is just output the text. You know, I don't know what to do. I don't know what tags to wrap it in. I don't know under what conditions to do which thing. You're not telling me any of that. So at the very least, I'm going to output all the text that I find. And so that's another thing that we want our transforms to do by default, is to just put out the values, put out all the different elements. So two things that we want our defaults to do, and that's exactly what they do. They put out the text nodes, and they also traverse all the tree. So these are templates that will run if you don't specify anything else. You can always override them. You can always specify something specific. When I hit the title element, output its text but wrap it in an H2 tag. But what if you hit the title element and you don't give it explicit instructions, either by a template or by explicitly calling in that title command, that title element? Then under those circumstances, the processor will run this default template, and the default template will do the default action, which is basically get the text out of that title element and just output it so that something comes out, so that we don't just have a blank screen. So that's the nature of the default templates. I'll let you run through the text of this topic to get all the specifics and to begin to think about how to play around with them, but I want you to understand conceptually that if you don't tell the transform processor to do anything, it'll still sort of do something. It'll make up as much as it can. It'll figure out something to do, and that will be what these default templates do. The only other thing that's interesting here is to pay particular attention to the XPaths that are in those default transforms, and to pay particular attention to how the XSL apply templates is used in these commands. And basically, XSL apply templates is used to do the traversing, right? Apply templates opens up all the children, and then if you do it, apply templates again, the children's children, etc. And those XPaths select the conditions under which these default templates will run.